It is crazy, though, that Alabama is converting 53%, almost 54% of their third downs. They're only behind Coastal Carolina. They're 96 to 178 on third down, while Georgia is 60 of 132. It's ridiculous. 30, hang on, let me do my math. 46 more third down attempts for Alabama than Georgia. But Georgia's only completing them at a 45% clip, which is still really good. It's good for 20th in the country behind Mississippi State, Minnesota. But what about, then we're going to pull up third down conversion on defense. I'm sure this will look fun. Georgia's only 14th. They only allow 32%. And Bama's right behind them, the 32.321, 0.324. So they're pretty similar in third down conversion defense. I just saw the report he's going to play. Let me pull it up. I got, what website is this? Sports Illustrated. And let's see, injury report. It says George Pickens knee in. I didn't see anything more than that. I just have the injury report. I don't have Coach Kirby Smart's comment. I mean, Brock Bowers is a matchup problem for everybody. And I don't know if it's being overlooked as much as the Alabama run D is really good. Even in the games where Alabama has struggled defensively, like, for instance, the Arkansas game, that was KJ Jefferson, who I will note wasn't healthy for that Arkansas or for the Georgia game. He wasn't. I mean, he had something with his knee. And if he's healthy, does Arkansas put up a ton of points? No, they don't. But do they put up like 10 points, 13 points? Maybe. But even against Alabama, Traylon Smith, who's a good running back, 9 carries, 42 yards. Dominique Johnson, 9 carries, 23 yards. It's combined, that's 18 carries for 65 yards. The Alabama run defense was not the issue. I mean, what, you want to pick a different game? Okay, Texas A&M, 34 carries, 153 yards. Or that's for Alabama. 27 carries, 94 yards for Texas A&M. Isaiah Spiller only averaged 2.7 yards a carry. So the Alabama run defense is good enough to stop them. Now, can Stetson Bennett make a couple plays? Maybe about Georgia. We'll see what happens. He's good to play. So if he's good enough to play, obviously they're going to try and target him. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked early if they take a shot deep or, some play action, see if they can't get him behind the defense. Or maybe he's just simply out there to decoy. I don't know. I'm not in practice. All I can project is what I'm reading, and he's going to play for the first time since that Cincinnati game last year. And, of course, the key matchup is that Crimson Tide defense, or offense, against that Georgia defense. These are two quarterbacks that don't turn the ball over, which is nice. Stetson Bennett's only been sacked 8 times. Good heavens. But he hasn't thrown the ball a lot. I mean, I have the stats pulled up. He's only thrown the ball, Stetson Bennett, 183 times compared to 409 times for Bryce Young. So, of course, Bryce is going to have been sacked more. He's on page 3 of NCAA.com. 112th in the country. He's been sacked 36 times, lost 233 yards in sack yardage. Holy cow, he did, didn't he? Showed you how much I paid attention to that game and how this week feels like it's gone a month. He had one catch for 5 yards. So, yeah, he's back. We'll see how healthy he is. I'm asking you, how healthy did he look? Because I didn't watch a snap of that game. Sanity has to rule out sometimes. And Ohio State and Michigan were playing one heck of a football game, and I just was like, I'm not watching a murder on TV. And I guess I looked at the stats and I just passed over that he had one catch. Did he look healthy? I don't know. And we'll see what happens this week. If he has a big game, Bama's in a lot of trouble. Young team, they've had some injuries on the offensive line. Some pieces have been shuffled. And again, it's the right side. The right side of that line has just against Auburn. It got caved in, and Auburn has a good defense. Derek Mason. I know he did get Vanderbilt to a couple bowl games. Like, he's not the worst coach I've ever seen, and he was a great defensive coach at Stanford. He deserved that job, and he had a great scheme, and he's a good defensive coordinator. But that Auburn defense isn't Georgia. It doesn't have Jordan Davis or just some of these guys, or Dean. So we'll see. He was 70%. Just glad to see him out there. Yeah, I'm sure it was nice to see him out there because what was that bowl game? January. He's back. It's been about 10 months. Okay, that's fair. Good. So, all right. So he's in. What did Florida do to Stetson Bennett to affect him? September 19, 161 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. They got pressure. If I remember right, they got pressure. They were able to. He's on the field for the first time since. Thank you. Goodness gracious. They got pressure, and that was really for the first half. Once the end of the half started coming, it was Georgia kind of became a bowling ball, and Bennett struggled early. That was the game. A lot of people were like, I know JT's hurt, obviously. When is he coming back? But since then, Stetson's been pretty good. So Alabama's going to have to get pressure. Let me just pull up the numbers from that game real quick. No, you silly computer. That's not what I wanted to do. I accidentally clicked the Vanderbilt stats, and there's nothing to be gained from that Vanderbilt game. Nothing. Got some pressure, and Florida's not untalented. So Florida defense just made some plays. They came out hot. Sometimes quarterbacks have bad games. I think that was just one of those instances. But again, once the end of the second half came, it started to become like a bowling ball effect, and it was all good. Yeah, hit that hit the likes, subscribe, and take a quick drink. Unfortunately, he is hurt a lot. Coming into the year, he came out last year and he had strong games against Missouri and a couple of games to end the year. And we walked into this year with Georgia. I remember going, if not this year, when? Alabama is going to be great still. And they still are an awesome team. But they're going to lose. They lost a lot. Clemson was going to take a step back, and they have. Now, we didn't think DJ would be miserable at times and okay at times. Quick trip. But I'm in St. Louis, so we have those all over the place. But it was like, if not this year for UGA, when? Now, with the talent that UGA has, they're always going to be in the hunt. But with JT Daniels, they have a good quarterback, and this was before the season. If not now, when? When Bama rebuild, Clemson going to reset a little bit offensively, losing Etienne and Lawrence. Who else can compete with Georgia? And then after the 10-3 game, let me just answer some questions real quick. So I have Bama Insider pulled up. And an article written an hour ago about Brian Robinson. They're doing some, I'll give the exact quote from Nick Saban. We're doing some things with him in practice and see how he responds. It's going to be day to day, so we're just going to see how it goes. So there's your answer. And JT Daniels, they got, even though I know they had a ton of wide receiver injuries, but they still have enough. Their defense is going to be really good. If not this year, then when? And they were pretty dominant, and Stetson Bennett was okay. JT was pretty bad against Clemson. But that Clemson defense is really good. It's really, really, really good. So you could kind of excuse it. And then they've looked dominant ever since. And ever since that Florida game, Bennett's been pretty good. I mean, I know against Missouri, 13-19, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns in a game where Zamir White struggled, McIntosh struggled. James Cook was pretty good, but 4.6 yards per attempt isn't going to kill anybody. Against Tennessee, 17-29, 213 yards and a touchdown. I was at that game. And while the stats for Stetson Bennett don't look great, early in the game, especially when Tennessee went down and scored a touchdown like that, early on, Stetson was able to make some throws, get some first downs on 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 5s. That kept the Georgia offense on the field, and eventually they just wore down a Tennessee defense that had lost a lot, of course, over the offseason to the transfer portal, didn't have the depth, didn't have the talent to keep up with Georgia. I mean, you look at the time possession of that game. It was ridiculous. And then I wanted to go to the next game. Charleston Southern, don't care. I'm not gleaning anything from that game. And then against Georgia Tech, 14-20, 255, 4 touchdowns. So Stetson's been pretty good. And he's doing the thing with that defense, what you have to do. Do not turn the ball over. You cannot turn the ball over. Which, if I remember right, let me go back to College Football Reference. He had some issues with last year. Yeah, 6 picks in 8 starts. So let's go back to the comments. If Georgia can't run the ball over 3 yards a carry, they're going to lose. Yeah, probably. I mean, if they're putting Stetson Bennett with Will Anderson and that defense, if they're consistently putting it, and I know Alabama's pass defense has been leaky at times, but if they're consistently getting put in 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8s, they're going to have a tough time in this game. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if that were to happen. I don't think this is going to be SEC championship. Yeah, I'm trying to think. This isn't going to be a high-scoring game. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. It's which quarterback can make more plays, who can convert more first downs, and can at either defense force a turnover against teams that have done really good jobs at not turning the ball over. Who can make a play on special teams? And a lot of channels have talked about this. This game isn't going to be very high scoring, and when you have games that aren't high scoring, the variance really picks up. Are you driving the ball and you tip pass interception at the 20-yard line? They go down and kick a field goal. That's a 10-point swing, maybe a 10-point swing. Who misses a key field goal? When you have games that are going to be in the 20s, this game isn't going to be 31-27. It's going to probably look like 24-20, 27-20, 2017, somewhere in that range. The variance level picks up, and then who knows? So something goofy happens. All of a sudden, you're looking at a flip of the result of what you expect. JT Daniels would be great. I mean, that'd be kind of funny. It wouldn't be the Jalen Hurts story, because that was crazy. That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen, where Tua replaces a benched Jalen, please come back against Georgia, and then Jalen replaces a benched Tua, or injured Tua. I don't remember, was he injured, or I know he was beat up. And Jalen comes in and leads the comeback. But JT Daniels is he was a first-round projected pick coming into the year, which, by the way, all those picks, who was it? It was Rattler. Matt Corral wasn't like a first-round guy. I know people were high on him, but I know he was not. He wasn't like a – who else? Sam Howell, his offensive line has got him killed this year. So we'll see what happens with these two. And the good news for Georgia, as far as the tight ends go, is they have an elite one in Brock Bowers. And I assume that's what Golding's going to plan. Yeah, looking at Eric's comment here. Very physical. They will win. Once you punch Georgia in the mouth the last two times they played, and Georgia whimpered and folded. I mean, this will be the first. If Georgia wins the national championship this year, this will be the first time a team has won a title with an unremarkable quarterback since Jake Coker. Because you had Mac Burrow, Lawrence, Tua, Deshaun, and it was Coker, and before that was Cardale, and then you had Jameis, AJ back-to-back years, and Cam. So yeah, I mean, good quarterback play has been really key for national title winners. I think this year we've seen the offensive schemes that have come into college football, and you're starting to see get put in the NFL. Defensive coordinators are starting to figure out how to stop it a little bit. Now, and you talked about getting pressure on Bennett. For anybody that watched the Ohio State-Michigan game last year, what you saw was Aiden Hutchinson take over a football game defensively. That's what Will Anderson's going to need to do. He's going to need to have a huge game and make Stetson Bennett revert to who he was last year, which was solid player, but turnover prone. I was just naming national championship quarterbacks, not good quarterbacks, because then I would also have said Jake Coker is a good quarterback, or Cardale Jones. And if not this year, when? This seems like your best chance, because like I said, to really kick things off, let's say hypothetically Alabama wins this week. Crazy game, Alabama wins 23-21. We go, whoa, Georgia's still in the playoff. They're not going to play Alabama round one. So for whoever to win a national championship, they're going to have to beat Georgia again. And if Alabama wants to win it, they're probably going to have to beat Georgia twice, which is tough to do. Ask 2011 LSU. It's tough to beat a great team twice. Didn't win a national championship. I was just talking about national championship quarterbacks because I said if my point was Stetson Bennett would be the first unremarkable quarterback to win a national championship since Jake Coker. And then I was just listing college quarterbacks because I like doing that. Who was it who tweeted out like half of Guy Conversations is just being like, hey, remember this guy? Because last year was Mac, and you had Burrow, you had Trevor, Tua. I know Jalen started, but I'm going to say Tua. Then Deshaun, and then it was Coker, which, Then it was Cardale. Jameis, number 1 overall pick, Heisman winner. And then we go to AJ for back-to-back. And then it was Cam, obviously great. And then it was McElroy, Tebow. McElroy, Tebow, Matt Flynn, Chris Leak. I mean, how far back do you want me to go? I mean, I can go back pretty far. Dylan, is that I'm not checking my phone, so is that breaking news or is that just a prediction? I haven't seen anything. If it's breaking news, that'd be something. Gotcha. Cool. I was like about to scramble to look at my phone. '07 LSU with Flynn and Hester and who was that wide receiver? Yeah, 07 LSU. And Matt Flynn, you had Jacob Hester. I see Ray just with his the bowl predictions. What do you had? Missouri in the Music City Bowl? They're not putting a 6-6 team in Music City. He's been excellent the last few weeks. And really, I'm going to pull up the numbers real quick. Alabama hasn't had issues getting to the quarterback. Anderson, 13 sacks. Mathis, 6 sacks. Turner, 4.5. Toto, 4 sacks. Byron Young even has 2. Christian Harris has 1.5. They haven't had an issue getting to the quarterback. It's that when they haven't been able to get to the quarterback, they've been getting burned. And we saw it. I mean, last week, they played better. They played a lot better last week, but I don't want to give them too much credit because TJ Finley was playing on one leg, and it was TJ Finley.